Krishna. Thanks everyone for joining us. And we will continue our series on Valmiki Ramayana. And today is Yudha Kanda. We are continuing Yudha Kanda. I think it's session 7 of Yudha Kanda, if I'm not wrong. Yes, we'll get started with the prayers. ॐ अज्ञानतिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनाशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मीलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। मूकं करोति वाचालं पङ्गुं लङ्घायते गिरिं यत्कृपातमहं वन्दे श्रीगुरुं दीनतारिणं परमानन्दमाधवं कृष्णचैतन्यमीश्वरम्। नमावं विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामिन्निति नामिने। नमस्ते सारस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्यदेशतारिणे। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैता गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौरभक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। We'll offer prayers to Valmiki, Lord Hanuman and Lord Ramchandra. कूजन्तं राम रामेति मधुरं मधुराक्षरम् आरुह्य कविताशाखां वन्दे वाल्मीकिकोकिलम्। वाल्मीकिर्मुनिसिंहस्य कवितावनचारिणः शृण्वन् रामकथानादं कोनयाति परां गतिम्। वेदवेद्ये परे पुंसे जाते दशरथात्मजे वेदः प्राचेतसादासीत् साक्षात् रामायणात्मना। अंजनानन्दनं वीरं जानकी शोकनाशनं कपीशमक्षहन्तारं वन्दे लङ्काभयङ्करं मनोजवं मारुततुल्यवेगं जितेन्द्रियं बुद्धिमतां वरिष्ठं वातात्मजं वानरयूथमुख्यं श्रीरामदूतं शिरसा नमामि। आञ्जनेयमदिपाटनालनं काञ्चनाद्रिकमनीयविग्रहं पारिजाततरुमूलवासिनं भावयामि पवमाननन्दनम्। यत्र यत्र रघुनाथकीर्तनं तत्र तत्र कृतमस्तकाञ्जलिं बाष्पवारि परिपूर्णलोचनं मारुतिं नमत राक्षसान्तकम्। जयत्राश्रितसन्त्रासध्वान्तविध्वांसनोदयः प्रभावान् सीतया देव्या परमव्योमभास्करः। श्रीराम राम रामेति रमे रामे मनोरमे सहस्रनाम तत्तुल्यं श्रीराम नाम वरानने। Hare Krishna, continuing Yudha Kanda, and the theme of Yudha Kanda is the efforts taken by the Supreme Lord to retrieve all the living entities who are aspiring to be united with Him. The Yudha Kanda begins with the glorification of Hanuman for having accomplished the wonderful task of finding Sita, and he receives the embrace of Lord Ramachandra. Lord Ramachandra, along with the Vanaras, they march to the shore of the ocean. Back in Lanka, the situation is very tense, where Ravan has a meeting with all his ministers. Vibhishan tries to advise Ravan to give back Sita. That particular day, Kumbhakaran was also awake and he also gave the same advice. But then he told Ravan that whatever it may be, I will stand by you. Vibhishan was trying to give some good counsel to Ravan. However, Indrajit, he interjects. Vibhishan gets offended. He leaves. And Vibhishan decides to go and surrender to Lord Ramachandra. And we saw this Vibhishan Sharanagati in great detail. And then finally, Lord Ramachandra, he speaks the very beautiful verse Sakrideva Prapannaya Tavasmiti Chayachate Abhayam Sarvabhutebhyo Dadami Etat Mama. And Vibhishan is accepted and he was consecrated right there on the seashore. And when Ramachandra and the Vanaras were inquiring from Vibhishan as to how to cross the ocean, Vibhishan thought one formula worked for me, so it will also work for Ram. So he says, you surrender unto the ocean. Meanwhile, a messenger by the name Shuka was sent, and Shuka was captured by the Vanaras. The ocean personified did not appear in spite of the austerities that Lord Ramachandra made, and this Sharanagati made by the Supreme Lord to the ocean god was a grand failure. And then when Ramchandra got very angry and he said that he's going to dry up the ocean, that is when the ocean god he appears and he presents Lord Ram with different gifts, and he tells him the nature of the ocean is that it is very difficult for it to be dried up or surpassed or to become shallow. I cannot change the way nature is. But however, I can give you a few benedictions as you're crossing this ocean. The sea creatures will not harm you. The bridge that you build will not dissolve or fall into the ocean, and nothing will submerge, basically till you cross. And as you drop rocks and other substances, nothing will dissolve in the ocean. So he talks about these three benedictions, and then under the leadership of Nala, they begin to build the bridge. So the bridge was built in a very nice technical way using trees and heavy rocks and smaller rocks and finally cemented with nice fine sand. And the bridges were supposed to be visible even today. So different personalities helped to build the bridge. Even a squirrel helped, is what we saw. And they reached the other side of the ocean, and it appeared that Lanka would soon be destroyed. And Ramchandra gave instructions that everybody should arrange the army troops in the form of Garuda Vyuha. And Shuka was released, and he went and reported to Ravan that Ram has come. And then Ravan, he sends two other spies, Shuka and Sharana. And Vibhishan finds them, but then Ramchandra tells Vibhishan, give them all the details, let them know everything about us. So Shukasharan, they get all the information, they go and they give this information to Ravan, but they glorify Ram in various ways, and Ravan is very irritated. And he sends another spy by the name Shardula. The same thing happens with Shardula, and he gets to know, Ravan gets to know the power of Ram and the kind of army that has been assembled. So he's very demotivated, and he sends Vidyujjhva with some magical tricks to show a beheaded head of Ramachandra along with his bow in front of Sita. And Sita sees the illusory head and she laments, and later Sarama consoles her. And Sarama goes and sees what's happening in the king's assembly, that is Ravan's assembly. And there he sees even Ravan's mother Kaikasi also advises him to give back Sita. Even Malyavan, his uncle, also talks to him about returning Sita and avoiding the war. But then Ravana, he stays adamant. So Ravana decides on his army formation, and Ramchandra's spies, they find out the exact army formation, and based on the army formation of Ravan, Ram gives instructions to arrange his army properly so that they can attack the specific gates of Ravan. As they are on top of the Suvela mountain, Sugriva gets an opportunity to spot Ravan, who's sitting on the Trikota mountain, and he jumps. And there's a little fight that happens between Sugriva and Ravan. And Sugriva returns to the presence of Ram, and Ram chastises him. He tells him, don't just run away like that. What will I do if you are in trouble? And then Sugriva explains that he just couldn't hold back himself looking at Ravan. Then the next day morning, just before the war, Angada is sent as a messenger, and Angada also, he goes and he shows his prowess. And Ravan says that the war is certain. the war commences, and the battle goes on even day and night because they were Rakshasas. Even night battle also continued. And on the very first day night, Ram and Lakshman were pierced by the arrows of Indrajit Nagastra. He had released the Nagastra, and seeing their condition, Sita laments because Sita was taken in an airplane to show their condition, but then she laments. And Sarama gives reasons to Sita why nothing has truly happened to them. They both are safe, meaning they are still breathing and everything is okay with them. And Lakshmana continues to stay in a swoon while Ramchandra has regained his consciousness. And they have some discussion on possible treatment options. That maybe some herbs should be brought from the ocean of milk. While they are discussing like this, our great servant of the Lord, Garuda, he appears and he relieves the two lords from the Nagapash. Garuda serves the Lord and he silently goes back. That was the first day and the night of the battle, and the night of the battle continued, and some more demons were killed. And then on the second day of the battle, Ravana he sends Akampana to the battlefield. Now, this Akampan is the same who came earlier in Janastan and ran away. 14,000 demons headed by Karadosh and Trishuras were all destroyed. And there was one person who escaped, that was Akampan. So that Akampana, he was known as to be very strong, and even demigods couldn't stand a chance in front of him. So he sends Akampana, then he sends Prahasta and so many other demons, but then they are all killed by the Vanaras. And at this point in time, on the day two itself, Ravan decides to go to the battlefield. And he says, I myself will go to the battlefield without hesitation so that I can destroy the enemies and gain victory. So he goes and into the battlefield, and he creates such a ruckus there because he's very, very powerful and he's shooting arrows in all directions. And the Vanaras, they run towards Ram for shelter. Lakshman, he takes permission. He says, Ramchandra, every time you go and you face the enemies, this time you give me permission. So Ram gives him permission. He tells Lakshman, go, but be very alert in this fight. And Ravan was shooting arrows, and before Lakshman could reach Ravan, of course, Hanuman faces him. And Neela, he's a very agile monkey. He is the commander in chief. He also faces Ravan, and Ravan thinks that he can burn down Neela, so he shoots the Agneastra, but still nothing happens to Leela. So finally, Lakshman he reaches the vicinity of Ravan, and there is a very, very terrible fight that arises between the two of them. And Lakshman he is actually hurt by the spear of Ravan, and he falls down. And Ravan tries to physically pull him, but Ravan is not able to do so. He is described as the younger brother of Bharata. But whereas though the younger brother of Bharata fell, a devotee like Hanuman was easily able to lift him and take him to safety. Then Ramchandra, he himself goes and he faces Ravan. And Hanuman says that you should be on my shoulders. He's on a chariot. So you mount on my shoulders and you have the fight. And at this point in time, on the second day itself, Ravan was pretty much defeated because Ramchandra shoots an arrow on his crown. There is Makuta Bhangam. And then he shoots an arrow at his bow, and his bow falls off. While he's trying to pick the other bow, an arrow goes and hits the other bow also. And he's devoid of chariot, and Ravan looks terrible. He looks in a terrible state, and he didn't have weapons to hold on to. And that is when Ramchandra tells him, you go today and come back tomorrow. He says, go, ashwasya niryahi rati chadhanvi. So go and do ashwas, go home, rest well, and then come back. So he was given a chance to come back to the battlefield. Ravan, he contemplates. This was around afternoon, actually, on the second day. He contemplates and he thinks, oh, really, what happened? Why is all this happening? Did all the curses come together? I didn't take a boon that I should not be killed by humans and vanaras, and has that come into play now, where humans and vanaras are going to kill me. So, like this Ravana, he was thinking about his terrible situation, that maybe all these curses, they all came together at the same point. Now he thought the only way to resolve the situation is to wake up Kumbhakarna. And Kumbhakarna was fast asleep because just 9 days before he was awake. Remember, he had come to the assembly. So it had just been 9 days. The curse that Kumbhakarna received was that he would sleep for 6 months at a stretch. But then it had been only 9 days. So it is very difficult to wake up Kumbhakarna. But then, with great difficulty, all the people sent, they crawled into the cave where Kumbhakarna was sleeping, and he was sleeping on one of these mountains called Charya Mountain, and there was a huge cave there, and he was lying there. So everybody tried to go, avoiding the stream of breath that was coming from Kumbhakarna's nose, because it was so heavy that they would fly off when they came across that stream of breath. So anyway, they tried to avoid that, and they tried to go and wake him up in various ways. So finally, he was awakened, and as soon as he wakes up, he eats a lot. He eats a lot, and he was ready to go and see Ravan. So this was the second day evening of the battle, and Kumbhakarna was summoned. And as he was walking towards the palace, at that time, the Vanaras and Lord Ramchandra spotted him walking. And Ram asked Vibhishan, "Who's this?" And Vibhishan says, "Oh, he is also the son of Vishavas, and he is a demon. He's really, really big. But don't tell to the Vanaras. Just tell them that he's a robotic machine." So our commentators say even in those days, such robots and things like that were present, because that is how he's introduced to the Vanaras. Because Vibhishan tells, don't scare the Vanaras. Just tell them he's like a machine. That's all, and they'll be okay. And you just tell them that they have to deal with him very carefully. That way, they are not demotivated. So after that, Kumbhakarna, he gets ready to go. And when he is getting ready to go, some ideas are given to him. Some silly ideas are spoken to him by one of the ministers, Mahodhara. But then Kumbhakarna dismisses all of that, and he says, "No, that's not how we handle things. We should go and attack him face to face." So now Kumbhakarna, he enters the battlefield. So that is where we stopped. We'll continue from there today. So Kumbhakarna, when he entered the battlefield, all the Vanaras, they started lifting up trees and huge mountain rocks, and they started running towards Kumbhakarna, thinking that he's a huge machine. And this Kumbhakarna, he was marching forward, and he was smashing all the Vanaras in every step that he took. He was so humongous. Not only was he smashing all the Vanaras, while he was walking, he would catch 20 to 30 Vanaras by his hands, and he would start eating them up, just like how Garuda would eat his prey on the move. So, like that, these Vanaras were so terrified by this Kumbhakarna. First and foremost thing, he was smashing them as he was walking, and secondly, he was just feasting on them as he was walking. But then, as these Vanaras were running in all directions, Angada, who's the prince, he goes and he gives confidence to all these Vanaras. So he tells, "Oh, auspicious Vanaras, please return. Why are you so worried? This demon, he's not really competent for a combat. He's just a toy, meaning he's just a machine. He's just a toy of terror." That's how Angada introduces Kumbhakarna. So don't think of him to be somebody who can, attack you when you're attacking him. You can just destroy him by climbing on him and destroying the toy. That is all you have to do. So he tells, "Oh, Vanaras, what we'll do is we can jump on him and we can tear him apart and we can destroy this toy. So it's better to die on the battlefield instead of running away from the battlefield. So at least if you die on the battlefield, you go to the heavenly planets. So let's come, all of you just come and face him." Now, Dvivida, he comes and he hurls a huge mountain towards Kumbhakarna. And however, Kumbhakarna just, dodges it and it misses the target and it falls on horses and elephants and chariots of Kumbhakarna. Then Dvivida hurls another mountain and some demons are killed. And Hanuman, he goes forward and he strikes Kumbhakarna with a large mountain peak and he injures him very, very severely. And in reply, Kumbhakarna, he strikes on Hanuman's chest with his trident. Then Kumbhakarna and other Kumbhakarna starts striking Hanuman and all the other Vanara chiefs. And as suggested by Angada, many, many thousands of Vanaras, they started climbing on Kumbhakarna's body and they started attacking him. They wanted to tear him apart, thinking that he's like just a machine, right? Like a robot. So what they started doing is they started using their nails, their fists, teeth, arms, and all that. And they were trying to pierce him and tear him apart. But in response, Kumbhakarna, he destroys all these Vanaras who were climbing on him on all directions with his trident that he was carrying. And now Angada, he goes and violently tries to attack Kumbhakarna, but Kumbhakarna strikes him and he falls unconscious. And then Kumbhakarna's attention is diverted towards Sugriva. But then Sugriva, he strikes Kumbhakarna's chest with a huge mountain, but the mountain breaks into pieces. And then Kumbhakarna, he throws his trident towards Sugriva, and Hanuman stops it on the way and he breaks it off. So Kumbhakarna again, he picks a huge mountain top and he throws it on Sugriva and he makes Sugriva unconscious and Sugriva falls down. And then he takes Sugriva. Sugriva is so tiny in front of Kumbhakarna. So he puts him on his shoulder and he decides to take him into Lanka. Like as a, it's a success prize for Kumbhakarna. Sugriva was the king of the Vanaras. So he made Sugriva unconscious and he picked up that Sugriva, put him on his shoulder, and he started walking to Lanka. So, like this, when Sugriva was taken away by Kumbhakarna and Lanka, all the Vanaras were shocked because their king was taken captive and they were all frenzied. They didn't know what to do. And they were all thinking, now our king is captured. That means this is the end of all the Vanaras. But then Hanuman had not lost hope. So Hanuman, he thought he would increase his size. Of course, Hanuman had all the siddhis. So he thought he'll increase his size to the form of a mountain and he would go and attack Kumbhakarna. He would kill him and save Sugriva. But then he was about to increase his size so that he can go and save his king. But then Hanuman was also a very wise minister. So he thinks that actually it won't be very appropriate for me to go and save the king because he's the king. He's all capable. He himself can actually save himself. Why does he need a minister's help to get saved? That is what Hanuman thought. Hanuman thinks that if I retrieve him, then there would be no credit to Sugriva, who's a great hero. So Sugriva is fully capable of saving himself. So thinking like that, Hanuman he tries to restrain himself, and Kumbhakarna, keeping Sugriva, who's unconscious, on his shoulders, he begins to walk on the highways of Lanka just to display to the demons that their prince or the king was captured. And all the Rakshasas who had seen this in the highways of Lanka, they were showering Kumbhakarna with flowers and water, auspicious water, and rice and paddy and all that to celebrate his success. But then what happened when the water, this nice rose water, was sprinkled on Kumbhakarna as the people were appreciating him? At that time, when the water was sprinkled on Sugriva, Sugriva regains his consciousness and he sees that he's on the shoulder of Kumbhakarna and he's being carried away. So in anger, he wakes up and he looks around and he starts tearing off the ears and nose of Kumbhakarna with his sharp nails and teeth. And in retaliation, Sugriv was actually put down by Kumbhakarna and Kumbhakarna tries to stamp on him and crush him. But then Sugriva, he escapes from Kumbhakarna. He bounces into the air and he jumps one bounce after the other. He just goes jumping and he lands near the place where Ramachandra is situated in the battlefield and he gets reunited with Lord Ram. So seeing this Sugriva run away like that, bouncing and running away, Kumbhakarna, he takes a huge mace and he tries to attack all the Vanaras and the bears who are in his way as he's chasing Sugriva. And he tries to rush towards Sugriva and he destroys so many people in the army because as he's walking, he's crushing hundreds and thousands of people. And he was devouring all the Vanaras and bears, whomever he saw, even the demons also he was devouring because he couldn't discriminate who is who. He was so furious that he could not make any distinction. And so he was trying to attack and chase Sugriv. But then Lakshman, he sees this and he stops him. And he tries to attack Kumbhakarna with all his arrows. And seeing Lakshmana, Kumbhakarna says, "Hey, I think you are that Prince Lakshman, but you get off my way. I'm really not interested in fighting with a youngster like you. You can tell me where Ram is. I will directly fight with him. I'll directly fight only with the kings. Either it is Sugriva or it is Rama. Hmm? So you don't come in between. After all, you're a little prince. So move away." And then Lakshman, he points to where Ram is because he knows Ram is the one who can really kill him. So he points, he says, "Look, my brother Ram is there." And he points to Ram and Kumbhakarna, he proceeds towards Ram to fight with Ram. And then Rama, he sees Kumbhakarna and he begins to discharge multiple weapons. And there is a fight that goes on for a very long time. So actually, in this Kumbhakarna and Ravana, they are Jaya Vijaya, right? From their previous birth. And they had to be killed by the Lord. So it was time for Kumbhakarna's life to end in the hands of Lord Ramachandra. So Ram, he begins to shoot the Rudra weapon towards Kumbhakarna. And these Rudra arrows, they pierce Kumbhakarna's chest and he drops everything that he has because he becomes very weak. And then eventually the weapons start falling off from his chest. He just removes it. And Kumbhakarna, he starts to use his fist to fight. So he hurls a mountain peak towards Ram. And even before the mountain peak can actually hit Ram, Ram's arrow split that mountain peak into multiple pieces. And Lakshmana was watching this and he was giving some advice to all the Vanaras. So he instigated some of the Vanaras. He called on to them and he told them, "You all start climbing on Kumbhakarna's body so that you can distract him." And Kumbhakarna was seeing that so many Vanaras were trying to climb on him, and some of the Vanaras were successful also. And very angrily, violently, he shakes them off. He shakes his body, and all of them go crashing into the ground. And then Kumbhakarna, he called Ram and he openly challenged him. And he tells Ram, "Don't think that I am like my stepbrothers Karadushan. I am Kumbhakarna. You cannot easily win me. I've heard that you have killed 14,000 of my stepbrothers in Janastan, but don't think that I am a weakling like them. I cannot be won over so easily. I will devour you also." So he says that and he picks up a huge hammer like tool to kill Ram and he starts to rush towards Ram. Then, when he's rushing towards Ram like that, Lord Ram he employs the Vayavyastra. It is a astra with which he chops off one of the arms of Kumbhakarna. And seeing that one of his arms was chopped off by the Vayavyastra, Kumbhakarna he retaliates with one arm. And then Ram, he chops the second arm of Kumbhakarna with another Vayavyastra. And then he begins to chop off the feet of Kumbhakarna. Once his two arms are chopped off, he starts chopping off the feet of Kumbhakarna. And Kumbhakarna was so furious because when his arms were chopped off, he was still advancing with his feet. But now his feet was chopped off. Now he didn't have arms, he didn't have feet, but then he had his mouth. So, with his mouth wide open, he started moving violently to swallow everybody. Especially, he wanted to swallow Ram with his mouth. But then Ram started shooting a series of arrows towards his mouth. So, like this, his mouth became full of arrows, and Kumbhakarna was not able to speak. He moaned with great difficulty and he becomes unconscious. Then, finally, to finish him off, Lord Ramachandra, he uses the Aindrastra and he lashes off his head. And this Kumbhakarna's head, it goes flying to the city of Lanka, smashing all the buildings and highways. You can imagine His head alone was as tall as a building. It was so big. So the head is chopped off from the trunk of the body, and it goes flying into the city of Lanka, smashing the buildings and the highways. And the remaining part, the lower part of his body, went and fell into the ocean by the effect of the Aindrastra that was shot by Lord Ramachandra. So at this time, all the demigods, they were showering flowers because they knew that one of the most difficult demons was killed by Lord Ram. And the Vanaras, of course, they rejoiced and they celebrate Ram's victory over Kumbhakarna. And seeing this terrible situation that Kumbhakarna is dead on the very second day itself, some of the Rakshasas were witnessing this. They go running and they report to Ravan. They say, "Oh, king, our Kumbhakarna, he was like Yamraj himself, the god of death, but he has been now killed by an army of Vanaras headed by Ram. So he has met with death." So they go and give this terrible news to Ravan, and Ravan is terrified. He's very, very upset. Hearing the news that Kumbhakarna has been killed by Ram, Ravan actually he faints. He's not able to believe it that anybody can kill Kumbhakarna, because Kumbhakarna was the biggest giant that was ever known in existence, and it was almost impossible to kill him. So he was completely taken aback and he even faints. So then, on regaining his consciousness, Ravan he wonders how was it possible that this Kumbhakarna was killed in the battle? He just couldn't believe it. He began to lament in various ways. He felt like as if his right arm is gone. Like we say, right? Like a king has his right hand and his left hand. Right hand is one soldier, I mean, the commander in chief, and the left hand is another great personality. So, like that, he feels his right arm is gone. That's how he feels. And he begins to rethink, reevaluate himself. And he so much so, he feels sorry for whatever he did. And he's thinking, maybe I should have listened to the advice of Vibhishan in the past. Because when lamentation hits us, when especially when we lose a loved one, we start thinking, oh, maybe I should have done this, maybe I should have done that. So like that Kumbhakarna, he was lamenting, I mean, sorry, Ravana, he was lamenting on the loss of Kumbhakarna. And then there was one of Ravana's sons by the name Trishiras. This is not the Trishira who was killed in Janasthan, but this is a son of Ravan. Ravan had many sons. So one of the sons of Ravan by the name Trishiras, he comes and he consoles Ravan and he tells, "Don't worry, your sons are there. Your brother is gone, but don't worry, your sons still remain. So we are all there. We will all go and attack this Ram." So this Trishira, he had other brothers, Devantaka, Narantaka, Atikaya. All of them were sons of Ravan. So they all came forward so that they can join the fight. And Ravan wishes them all the best and he sends them to the battle. But he also sends other warriors like Mahodara and Mahapashva so that his sons can be guarded. They were senior warriors, Mahodara and Mahapashva. So, like that, many demons now again re entered the battlefield and they ran towards the Vanaras. And the Vanaras could see these terrible demons coming on elephants and horses and chariots. So the Vanaras, they start taking huge rocks so that they can fight with these demons. And Narantaka, he enters, one of the sons, Narantaka, he enters the battlefield with his javelin and he kills many Vanaras. And meanwhile, while he's attacking the Vanaras, some of the Vanaras who were earlier thrown down by Kumbhakarna and who were unconscious, again, they regain consciousness and they run towards Sugriva for help. And Sugriva, he sends Angada so that Angada can fight with Narantaka. And Angada and Narantaka, they start fighting. And Narantaka hurls his javelin towards Angada's chest, but then the javelin breaks and falls. And then Angad, he strikes Narantaka's horse, and the head of the horse falls off. And then Angada and Narantaka, they exchange a few blows and fists fight. And finally, Narantaka dies. So one of the sons of Ravan, Narantaka, he dies on the hands of Angada. This was all happening on the second day night. Okay, second day night, the war is continuing, and Kumbhakarna is already gone. Ravana already hit the battlefield and he had a big shameful event where he was given a second chance and he was sent home. So a lot of things was happening on the second day. And Hanuman and Devantaka, they actually face each other. And Devantaka is killed by Hanuman. And Trishira and Mahodara, they attack Neela with their arrows. And Mahodara dies in the hands of Neela, while Hanuman and Trishira fight with each other. And Hanuman strikes Trishira by chopping off his three heads. By Trishira's sword itself, he takes Trishira's sword and he chops off his head. And then Mahaparshva, he comes to the battlefield and he attacks Rishabha. And by banging Mahaparshva's mace on on Mahaparshva's head, Rishabha kills him. So these Vanaras, they didn't have any weapons of their own. The only weapons they used was their nails and their teeth. Even Hanuman never carried the gada. Okay, there was nothing like that in the war field. Out of love and affection, we worship Hanuman with the gada. But actually, Hanuman didn't have all that. It was just the teeth and the nails that the Vanaras were using. They were throwing mountain peaks, they were throwing trees. But sometimes, when the demon was too difficult to handle, they would use the demon's weapon itself to kill them. Like in this case of Mahaparshva, where Rishabha actually catches on to Mahaparshva's mace and starts banging on Mahaparshva and kills him like that. So even Hanuman also, he takes the sword of Trishiras and he kills Trishiras. So like that, all these sons of Ravan were killed. But then there was one son who was remaining. And who was this? This was Atikaya. Atikaya means a person with a huge body, right? Atikaya. So he was huge. He was really, really huge. He was almost as big as Kumbhakarna. And he was coming on his chariot. And Ram asks Vibhishan, who is he? Another huge one. Who is he? And Vibhishan introduces Atikaya as the son of Ravan and Dhanyamali. This was one of the other consorts of Ravan. Ravan had many wives, and one of the Rakshasa wives of Ravan was Dhanyamali. And introduces this is the great son of Dhanyamali and Ravan. And it was very difficult to attack Atikaya as much as it was difficult to attack Kumbhakarna. So all the commanders of the Vanaras, they tried to attack Atikaya in various ways. And Atikaya, he could just chop off trees and rocks. And Atikaya moved without, he was literally ignoring these Vanaras who were trying to attack him. Rather, he moved forward and he wanted to face Ram directly in a battle. But then Lakshman, again, seeing that Atikaya was coming, he desired to fight with Atikaya. So he started shooting arrows at Atikaya, and Atikaya pierces all the arrows of Lakshman. And finally, he pierces the chest of Lakshman with the sharp arrows. And Lakshman is hurt, but then Lakshman removes those arrows and he releases the Agni weapon. And Atikaya counteracts it with the Suryastra. So, like this fight goes on between Lakshman and Atikaya for a while, and then the wind god appears and he tells Lakshman a secret. So he tells that this Atikaya cannot be easily conquered. You're giving him a good fight, that's nice, but it is not easy to conquer him. The armor that he's wearing is protecting him. So this boon was given to him by Brahma. So if you can split his armor with a weapon, then he can be killed. So hearing the secret from the wind god, Lakshman, he splits the armor with a terrible missile, and Atikaya's armor is split, and immediately his head is chopped off by Lakshman, and then Atikaya he falls on the ground, just like how a peak of the Himalayan mountain would get chopped off. So like that he falls on the ground by Lakshman. So he's killed by Lakshman. Now, all the sons on the second day itself, you see, all the sons of Ravan are killed, and the news reached Ravan that all of them were dead. Atikaya, Dhumraksha, Kamparna, Prahasta, Kumbhakarna. So many mighty warriors were killed in the battle, and Ravana became very, very anxious. He was thinking, I just cannot understand what is happening. A mere human has come with a few Vanaras, and they got released from the Nagastra that was shot by Indrajit, and every time they come out successful. So it doesn't appear that they are ordinary human beings. And he feels that it looks like now none of us are able to face this Ram, Lakshman, and Sugriv and Vibhishan on the battlefield. So what he does is he ensures that the protection is tightened in Lanka. So he calls some of the demons and he tells them, you all should protect the city of Lanka very, very carefully. Even the Ashoka where Sita is held captive, even that should be protected very carefully. And don't be indifferent to the movements of these Vanaras. They can attack us, they can enter the city at any time. Okay, so he gives instructions for strengthening the protection of the entire city, and he enters into his palace. And he was lamenting because he had just lost so many of his sons. It was not easy. He lost his brother, and immediately he has lost so many sons. So, looking at his father that day night, looking at his father in such a depressed state, Indrajit, he comes and he says, Dad, I'm still alive, because he is the most favorite son of Ravan and the most capable son of Ravan as well. And he was the most precious person in Ravan's army. Without Indrajit, Ravan couldn't do anything much. Indrajit knew Maya Yudha, and he was very difficult. In fact, in the Uttarakhand also, the sages, when they meet Lord Ramchandra, after Ramchandra is coronated, Agastya and all the sages, they go and meet Lord Ram, and the question they congratulate Ram actually. They congratulate Ram, telling that you have performed an unbelievable feat. And especially they congratulate Lakshman and Ram for the fact that Indrajit was killed. The way they talk is that Raman would have anyhow been killed, that is their assumption, because Raman had so many curses. So just owing to his curses, he would have died. But then Lakshmana was a very difficult one. Not Lakshman, sorry, Indrajit. I am saying Lakshman. Lakshman was the one who killed Indrajit. So he says Indrajit was a very, very difficult one, and Lakshman was able to kill Indrajit. This conversation comes later. So you can understand the power of Indrajit. Indrajit was very, very accomplished. He had even conquered Indra, so that's why he gets the name Indrajit. So Indrajit, he convinces his father and he tells that I will go to the battle. And I had even conquered Indra. Who are these little Vanaras and these two people, Ram and Lakshman? I can handle them. So finally, Indrajit, actually, he was the only hope left for Ravan. And Indrajit, he sets out to the battlefield. And after reaching the battlefield, Indrajit, what he does is he performs a sacrificial ritual there. This is his usual way, because once he performs that sacrificial ritual, he gets immense powers to do this magical warfare. So he goes and he performs a sacrificial ritual, which is actually an animal sacrifice. And he makes an oblation to the fire. And after sacrificing the animal and performing all the sacrificial rites, he becomes invisible. Okay. Now, after this animal sacrifice, not only is he invisible, but his arrows, his bow, his chariot, his armor, everything becomes invisible. Now, that is the power of the sacrifice that he performs. Okay. So, he performs the ritual there and everything becomes invisible. Actually, just a little tidbit for you all. I don't know the authenticity of this, but then since I heard it, I just thought I will share it as well. When we went to the place where Sita Devi enters Agni, the Agni Pariksha Sthali, there the priest there, he was telling me that actually this place was chosen for the Agni Pravesh simply because belonged to Indrajit. Actually, that entire area belonged to Indrajit, and Indrajit used to perform many, many sacrifices in this place. Because of the power of the sacrifices that were performed by Indrajit, that place had a unique value. So that is the reason even Agni Pravesh was chosen to happen there. Because it was a very, what do you say, like empowered place, you can say, or a very a place where a lot of sacrifices were performed. So it was considered to be like a place of where dharma is avoided or something like that. So especially when Agni Pravesh had to happen and the truth had to be proved per se to the people, that particular place was chosen. It was actually Indrajit's place of performing many sacrifices. That's what he was explaining. That entire area belonged to Indrajit. That area where this temple is and all that. He said that he was telling about how Lanka is divided into different sections, and each of these sections belongs to somebody important in Raman's family. Like Shurpanaka had a one section, Vibhishan had a section, like the east was for Vibhishan. I think the north was for Kumbhakarna, the west was for Shurpanaka, the southern region, especially the southern central region, was for Ravana, and this particular point, central portion of certain southern areas were ruled, or it was given to Indrajit. So he was explaining all that, and he was telling that even that region belonged to Indrajit, and he was known to perform so many sacrifices to become more and more powerful. Not that he performed sacrifices so that he can become very dharmic or something, but he would perform these sacrifices to become powerful. But that place had that potency. That is what he was explaining. The place was considered a place of sacrifices. So he would go, and it was not very far away from the war field. It was all very close by. So at least this place. Later, he does the Nikumbila sacrifice that comes towards his death time. That is a different place. But at least here, at this point in time, he was performing sacrifices somewhere near the war field. And he offered oblations, and because of that, he became invincible, and invincible to the point that he was invisible. And his army, his armor, his weapons, and his chariot, everything became invisible. And he rose to the sky, and he went to the battlefield where he started shooting arrows from the sky invisibly. He was shooting multiple arrows, and it was so difficult. He was raining arrows from all directions. And finally, he decided to shoot the Brahmastra so that once for all, everybody can get wiped off. And this was he was an expert in discharging Brahmastra. We have seen earlier also he did it. He was able to arrest Hanuman by shooting the Brahmastra, right? So this time he shot the Brahmastra so that he can wipe out everybody in the battlefield. So he shoots the Brahmastra, and Ramchandra, he sees the Brahmastra as being shot. He can just feel the effect of the Brahmastra, and he understands that Indrajit has sent the Brahmastra invisibly. So he tells Lakshman that now we have to submit to the Brahmastra just to honor it, because we cannot fight against the Brahmastra. Generally, you see, nobody fights against great astras. They respect the great astras. So Ramchandra says we can't fight against the Brahmastra, and they choose to respect the Brahmastra, and they submit to it, and they fall down unconscious. And Ram, Lakshman, the whole army of Vanaras, they all fall unconscious. Everybody starts fainting one by one, and Sugriva hasn't fainted yet. So Sugriva, Neela, Angad, Jambavan, they are all discussing among themselves, not knowing what to do, because the effect of the Brahmastra was spreading and people were all falling unconscious. Vibhishan was looking very worried, and he was trying to console Sugriva and all the Vanaras. But he tells, in fact, Vibhishan tells Sugriva, don't be demotivated. Rama is just submitting out of respect to the Brahmastras. It's not that Ram is going to be killed by the Brahmastra, and the Brahmastra cannot do anything to him. So he was trying to console him in various ways, because Sugriva knew very soon he will also faint and fall, and he also can't do anything much. But Vibhishan was consoling him, telling, don't be afraid, don't be afraid, everything will be okay, everything will be okay. And Sugriva also is now, he falls because of the Brahmastra. Then two people are not affected by the Brahmastra. Who are these two people? Right now, two people are mentioned. The two people are Hanuman and Vibhishan. Now, Vibhishan, in the Uttarakanda, this section comes, even Hanuman's story also comes in the Uttarakand. Both Hanuman and Vibhishan had a boon that the Brahmastra cannot do anything to them. Vibhishan, when he prays, Vibhishan, Ravan, and Kumbhakarna, when they perform austerities and they get boons from Brahma, at that time Brahma himself gives the boon to Vibhishan, saying Brahmastra cannot do anything to you. Vibhishan, of course, asks his boon that he always wants to stay on the path of dharma. That's how he chooses Ram versus anyone else. Similarly, Hanuman, when he was a child itself, you all know the story how he wanted to, he was chasing after the sun and then he was hit by the Vajrayuda of Indra. He falls down and Vayu is very upset that his son is hurt. So Vayu, he stops functioning and all the demigods are telling him to function. And that is when, to console Vayu, all the demigods come and they give different boons to the little child. And one of the boons that Hanuman receives is that the Brahmastra cannot do anything to him. That's why in the earlier episode also, he submits willingly to the Brahmastra, knowing that the Brahmastra cannot do anything to him when he was captured and taken to the assembly of Ravan. So Brahmastra cannot do anything to him. So two people were still conscious. That one was Hanuman and the other was Vibhishan. And they started talking to each other. And in the night, see, it was dark. It was deep in the night. This was on the second day night. It was very, very deep into the night. And they couldn't see anything much. So they were holding torches in their hands, fire torches, and they were going from one place to the other. And they were only seeing people. All the Vanaras had all fallen unconscious and nobody was able to get up or speak. He saw several Vanaras hurt, and they also saw Sugriva. He was also fallen at the end of it. Sugriva, Angada, Neela, Sharaba, Gandhamadana, Gavaksha, Sushena, Vegadarshi, Mainda, Nala, Jyotirmukha, Dvivida, all of them were struck in the battlefield. Actually, it is mentioned 67 crores of powerful Vanaras were struck down by the Brahmastra of Indrajit in 6 Narikas. Narika is 2.5 hours. That was the effect. I mean, like the Brahmastra, it slowly spreads. And in a matter of 2.5 hours, which is 6 Narikas, how much? 67 crores of monkeys or vanaras were all struck down. And what was Vibhishan and our Hanuman trying to do now with the torch in their hand? They were trying to find if anyone was awake. They were just trying to see who is going to be awake at this time. We need to gather some strength. So they were walking around in torches and they saw Jambavan. So Jambavan, his body was pierced with hundreds of arrows, but then Jambavan's voice was heard, like he was just moaning and his voice was heard, and they immediately understood. Jambavan also cannot be killed by the Brahmastra, though he is old, because he's an old man, he's just fallen there because he's out of energy. But then they could understand that the Brahmastra cannot make him completely, put him down completely because Jambavan is the son of Brahma. And he is also immune to the Brahmastra and he has a long life. He was awarded a very long life for the entire Yuga. So nothing can happen to Jambavan either. So they could understand Jambavan was speaking in a very meek voice. They went to Jambavan and they heard Jambavan's voice. Jambavan said, "Hey, Vibhishan, I'm seeing that is you. I'm unable to open my eyes properly, but I'm able to recognize you by your voice." And then he asks Vibhishan, "Is Hanuman alive?" He asks. "Does Hanuman, who's the foremost of all the Vanaras, the son of Anjana and Vayu, is he holding his life? Is he there anywhere nearby?" He asks. And then, hearing these words of Jambavan, Vibhishan was very surprised. "Why Hanuman? Why are you asking, is Hanuman alive?" He asks, "Why do you inquire about Hanuman instead of asking about Ram, Lakshman, or Sugriva? Because they are the leaders of the army. You should be asking, is Ram alive? Is Lakshman alive? Is Sugriva alive? If they are alive, then the war will continue. Otherwise, we have lost and everything is over. So why are you inquiring about Hanuman?" And then he asks, "How come you have this exceptional affection towards Hanuman and not that affection towards Sugriva, who is the king, or Angada, who is the prince, or even Ram or Lakshman?" So, hearing all these questions posed by Vibhishan, Jambavan says, "Hey Vibhishan, I am inquiring about Hanuman simply because if Hanuman is surviving, then the whole army, even though appeared to be killed, will come back to life. But if Hanuman is not there, then none of us can be alive." So, this was the answer given by Vibhishan. Given by Jambavan to Vibhishan. And then he says, if Hanuman is dead, we are all as good as dead, even if we are living. Why? Because Hanuman is equal to the wind and fire in his prowess. And if he survives, he can make a way for all of us to survive. And when this answer was heard by both Vibhishan and Hanuman, Hanuman goes close by and he says, I'm alive, I'm right here in front of you. And he offers his obeisances to Jambavan. And he holds on to the feet of Jambavan with a lot of modesty, with a lot of humility. And hearing the voice of Hanuman, Jambavan, he becomes very relieved. He feels like as if he's reborn, his life has come back to him. And Jambavan gives instructions to Hanuman. He tells, come here close to me. You're the foremost of all the Vanaras. You are the only one who can truly protect the lives of all of them. You have to cheer up everybody. You have to heal everybody. Now, the healing power is with you. What you need to do is you need to go to the Himalayas. Only you are capable of flying and going to the Himalayas. That is why I was thinking of you. Now you go to the Himalayas, which is the best of the mountains, and you cross this ocean, cross over the greater India, go to the point where the Himalayas is seen. There you will find Mount Rishabha, which is a beautiful mountain, and you will also see Mount Kailash in the Himalayas. And between the Rishabha mountain and the Kailash mountain, there is a unique place, there is a unique mountain called as Aushadagiri, the mountain of herbs. It's a peak in the mountain that is somewhat sandwiched between Rishabha Parvat and where the Mount Kailash is. There is a unique stretch of mountains that has a specific peak that is called as Aushadagiri. So you go, that Aushadagiri has all the herbs, and you can actually go and get 4 herbs from there. What are the 4 herbs? He says you can see there Mrita Sanjeevani. Mrita Sanjeevani means that is capable of restoring the dead back to life. The second he mentions is Vishalya Karani. Vishalya Karani means that which can extract all the poison and all the weapons. It can extract out the weapons and heal the wounds. Suvarna Karani, that can restore the original complexion, because you can imagine when someone is hurt and their life is passing, the original complexion is gone. So it can restore the original complexion and life in that person. And Sandhana Karani or Sandhini, this can actually join the fractured bones, and it can give strength to the muscles and so on. So he talks about these 4 herbs, and he tells, I want you to go and bring those 4 herbs very quickly. So hearing this order of Jambavan and understanding the pressing need of the situation, it was a very crucial moment. Hanuman, he was infused with animated strength, so he goes running to Mount Trikuta, where Lanka is, and he goes on top of the mountain. He presses down his feet, he increases his size, and he himself looks like another mountain. And in fact, it is mentioned that the Trikuta mountain couldn't bear his weight, and Trikuta mountain started shaking. The entire city of Lanka was shaking. It was appearing like as if a city was dancing in light. As it is, the city of Lanka was very well lit. Um, Actually, today the place of this capital city that they identify in Lanka is called Novarelia. That means the city of lights. So even Valmiki describes it appeared like as if a city of lights was dancing in the sky when Hanuman was taking off. Because of the weight of Hanuman, it was like as it was dancing, and then he takes off. So he takes off, he crosses through the ocean, he speeds up, and then he crosses through the entire landmass of Bharatvarsha, that is specifically at this point in time India, and he also sees Mount Himalaya. So he crosses different places and he sees this beautiful mountain, and he sees that Himalaya is occupied by so many different sages, and they are beautiful ashramas, and he's able to witness many places in the Himalayan range. He's able to see the abode of Brahma. There is one abode of Brahma in the Himalayas. Then he's able to see Kailash in a distance, that is the abode of Lord Shiva. He's able to see an abode of Lord Indra, who's one of the leader of the demigods. He also has one of his places in the Himalayas. He also sees the place where Rudra discharged arrows. That is Lord Shiva. He shot some arrows towards Brahma once upon a time, chopping off his fifth head. That location he could see from in the Himalayas. He could also see a place of Hayagriva, who is the horse-faced form of Lord Vishnu that is worshipped. He also has an abode in the Himalayas. So like that, he could see the location of the Kinkaras and so many other different kinds of personalities. Actually, all these great personalities and demigods, they all have their own abodes in the Himalayas. Like we say, when we go, some locations in the Himalayas, they are very, very, they're highly worshipped. And each location in the Himalayas is known after some demigod or after some great personality. Like Goddess Parvati has a place. Like that, everybody has their place in the Himalayas pretty much. But anyway, Hanuman, it is mentioned here in the Ramayana that he crossed through all those different places, and he could see the abode of Agni, the fire god. He could see the abode of Kuvera. He could see the abode of Brahma, Shiva. He could even see a point in the Himalayas wherein, if you enter that place, it is considered the navel of the world, meaning you can enter the Patala Loka through that hole. So there is one particular location in the Himalayas where there is access to the subterranean regions. We don't know where all this is. Maybe we can continue to do our research and search to find if there is such a hole. Someday we find. I don't know. But that is what the Ramayana says. So it says that he could pass through all these different places, and finally he saw this flaming herb mountain where all these herb grew. He could understand that it was between the region of Kailash and Mount Rishabha, and he landed on that particular peak. And now that he landed on that particular peak, he started searching around for the herbs. But then Hanuman, he had crossed so many thousands of yojanas, and he was on a mission. He was walking around the mountain searching for the heavenly herbs, but he was not, of course, a biology student or a botany student, so he couldn't find out much. And in fact, it is mentioned that these herbs, the specific herbs, they covered themselves, not being visible to Hanuman because they didn't want to be taken away by anybody. So it appeared that that's how poetically Valmiki presents it. Valmiki says that they covered themselves. They didn't want to reveal themselves to Hanuman. So they were covering themselves. And also Hanuman couldn't really figure out which is Vishalya Karani, which is Santana Karani. It was too complicated. Okay. So Hanuman was getting angry. He made a loud noise and he screamed. He was not able to bear it, that he's not able to find the herbs. And then he starts chastising the mountains. He says, "Hey, mountain, why are you not showing compassion to Ram? Reveal the herbs to me. Otherwise, you have to see the strength of my arm. So I will shatter this mountain into pieces." So like that, he scolds the mountain, and then in anger he catches hold of the top of the mountain. He uproots that section of the mountain, and he proceeds holding that section. You all know this famous pose of Hanuman where he is holding the peak of the mountain and he's flying. So just like how Garuda, the great eagle, flies off, Hanuman holding the tip of that mountain or the peak of the mountain that has this all these aushadas, he holds it and he starts flying away. So Hanuman, there's so much to learn from him, right? Every time Hanuman's subject matter comes in Ramayana, immediately lessons come. So immediately lessons. So what did Anjaneya do here? He had so many capabilities. He could think fast. He knew, first of all, he's on a mission and he didn't want to waste time. So he didn't want to sit there thinking, when will I find the herb? Should I wait, and should I take a lens and go and see the composition of every herb? Should I go to a botany class and come? He didn't think like that. He was really fast. And he thought, what can I do without wasting time, at the same time ensuring that I take whatever is required? So without wasting time, he decided to implement his action. What is it? Just take the whole damn thing. So he thought, okay, I will just take the whole mountain and I will go. So whatever the obstacle was in his path, he was able to face these obstacles and he was able to implement the idea. He didn't get depressed or dejected, or he didn't do something that would increase the wait time. He took action immediately. So he had many, many qualities. He carries this mountain, and That's the lesson that is mentioned. When we are in a critical situation, it demands proper thinking, action, and strength to handle problems. So, all this inspiration we can take from Hanuman. And he takes the mountain in his hand, he flies off into the sky, and it was appearing like as if the Sudarshan Chakra released by Vishnu. How swiftly it goes! Like that, Hanuman, carrying this mountain swiftly, flew across the land of Bharat, and he crossed the ocean. And seeing him come on the skies of Lanka itself, all the Vanaras, some of the Vanaras, not all the Vanaras, whoever was awake at that time, they made a huge roar, and he was also roaring. He was also roaring as he was coming, and he comes, and as he's coming, actually, this is how Ramayana describes that as the Aushadagiri was brought in the presence of the Vanaras itself. The Vanaras were able to inhale the fragrance of the herbs, and immediately, tap, pat, 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 everybody came to consciousness. So everybody was coming to consciousness and they were waking up because of the power of that fragrance that was there on that Aushadagiri. As he was nearing, as he was taking the mountain and coming close itself, people were coming back to consciousness. So, like this, all the Vanaras, they all got back to consciousness, and it appeared. How did they come back to consciousness? Valmiki says that as if when you're sleeping, suddenly you just get up, and you're completely normal. Actually, they had almost died. All of them were dead, technically. But then it appeared that they just, slept for a few minutes and they got up. That's how they felt when they woke up, because they were completely rejuvenated by the fragrance of those herbs. It had healed all their wounds, and they were completely normal, like as if they had had a good sleep. Hmm? And from that day onwards, again, from that night onwards, after inhaling the herbs, the demons and the Vanaras, they began to fight. But now the question may be raised. So if everyone woke up because of the fragrance of the herbs, then wouldn't have the demons also woken up who all had died, who all had fallen in the battlefield, because so much death had happened in the battlefield so far, right? All the Vanaras, they woke up. Why? Because the Aushadagiri had come. So they all inhaled and they just got up, everybody. But then, did the demons also wake up in same numbers? The answer is no. Why? Because the demons were not even there on the battlefield. The dead body of the demons were not there on the battlefield. Why so? Because Ravan had a psychology. Ravan, he never wanted to show his defeat, or he never wanted to show his weakness. So the orders were given to the Rakshasas from day one. As the death of the Rakshasas happened on the battlefield, the bodies of the Rakshasas should be cast into the ocean. This was a standing order that was given by Ravana. So, as and when the Rakshasas died, their bodies were taken and it was thrown into the ocean, because Ravana never liked to show his weakness that, oh, so many people from my side are killed. He never wanted to display that. But this psychology turned not in his favor. Okay. It only the Vanaras who were lying around there, their bodies were not disposed. So they all woke up, they all got back their life. But then the demons, because they were disposed deep into the ocean, they did not get back their life. So they were all killed for once for all. So anyway, now the Vanaras, they were rejuvenated completely. And what did Hanuman do? Did he just keep the mountain there? No, he was a very responsible citizen. So he picked up the mountain. He again went all the way. He went all the way. He takes the effort to do things to the point. Just like sometimes when we take something from somewhere, we are taught in our childhood, you should go and put it back in that place. Otherwise, tomorrow you will not find it. This is what our parents tell us. Especially, we lose keys, we lose pens, we lose so many things, our phones. Why? Because we don't keep it in the place where it belongs. But then, if you keep it in the place where it belongs, then you will never lose it, right? I would hear this phrase all the time, put it back in the same place, otherwise you won't find it tomorrow. So, like that, Hanuman, he knew very well he can't just throw it somewhere there and keep fighting. No, he was very responsible. He knew he brought it for a purpose. The purpose was resolved. He picked it up and he took the trouble. It was not so, I mean, it was a part of him where he could move long distances very swiftly. So he thought this is not waste of time, but the Aushadagiri should go back to the place where it belongs. So he carries it, he goes back all the way and he puts it back in place. He did not want any imbalance in nature. So this was his responsibility. Anyhow, meanwhile, this was still the second day night. The Vanaras, they were all rejuvenated and they thought, okay, now we should not leave the Rakshasas alone. Meanwhile, Ravana was very dejected. He thought everything was over because Indrajit had shot the Brahmastra. But then the Vanaras, they didn't keep quiet. What they started doing, they started going to Lanka, into the city, and they started lighting up the entire city on fire to show Ravan that nothing has happened to them in spite of Indrajit shooting the Brahmastra. Now, Ravana was shocked to see flames of fire reaching the sky, and he understood Kumbhakarna is no more. He thought he had lost half his strength when Kumbhakarna died, and then he was now even more upset because the entire city of Lanka was again ablaze because of Hanuman. Under the leadership of Hanuman, they went and they started lighting fire everywhere. So, holding torches in their hands, they started throwing the torches of fire in all parts of Lanka, and the city burned. It appeared like the entire world was burning during the time of dissolution. And Ram and Lakshman, they were all healed from their wounds. All the Vanaras, they were rejuvenated and they were ready to fight again. So all the gates and buildings in the city, they were all tumbling down by Ram's arrows. Ram started shooting arrows everywhere, and Ravana was getting very enraged inside the city. So now he decides to send Kumbha and Nikumba. Kumbha and Nikumba are the sons of Kumbhakarna, because now Kumbhakarna is dead. He enticed Kumbha and Nikumba, telling them, your father is dead. What are you doing here? You go and face him in the battle. So Kumbha and Nikumba, along with their huge armies, they enter the battlefield, and all the monkeys again, they get ready to fight. Angada, he kills a demon by the name Kampana, and he injures Shonitaksha. Angada, along with Mainda and Dvivida and other monkey warriors, they encounter Shonitaksha, Yupaksha, Prachanga. Angada kills Prajanga, Shonitaksha dies in the hands of Dvivida, and Yupaksha dies in the hands of Mainda. So these are other warriors who had joined Kumbha and Nikumba. So when Kumbha, he was facing Angada in the battlefield, and Ram, seeing that Angada and Kumbha were fighting, Ram sent some more monkey chiefs headed by Jambavan. Sugriva, with his thunderbolt like fist, he strikes Kumbha with a heavy blow and kills him. Seeing Kumbha, his brother, being killed, Nikumba, he goes with an iron club as his weapon and he roars in the battlefield. And Hanuman attacks Nikumba by striking his fist on Nikumba's breast. And unmoved by that blow, Nikumba lifts Hanuman off the ground, and Hanuman, in retaliation, he frees himself and throws down Nikumba on the ground. And shouting Jai Shri Ram, Hanuman descends on Nikumba. He just pounds on his chest with his fist and he tears his head off. So Nikumba, he dies in the hand of Hanuman. All happening in the deep night of the second day night. Okay. Then Ravana, he orders Makaraksha to go to the battlefield with an army to kill Ram. And he tells Makaraksha, you are the son of Kara. What is the use of you sitting here? Take revenge for your father's death, because Karadushanadi demons were killed in Janasthan. So now there's Makaraksha. He goes with his army of demons, and Makaraksha's whip and flag staff fall off all of a sudden because there is a sudden storm in the middle of the night. It's the same thing happened when Karadushan were going into were ready to go and face Ram. They were seeing all these omens and there were storms. And it was appearing that they are going to lose anyways. So like that, when Makaraksha was going also, there was a huge storm and the flag was falling off. But still Makaraksha's army marches forward to the battlefield. And the Vanaras are all startled because Makaraksha is a great fighter and he's shooting arrows everywhere. And then they all run to Ram, and then Ram faces Makaraksha. Ram tears off the arrows that are hurled by Makaraksha, and Makaraksha, he fought very valiantly with Ram, breaking the arrows released by Ram. Then finally, Ram breaks the chariot, the horses of the chariot. He stands on the ground, and he takes like a weapon in his hand, and he tries to fight with Makaraksha. But Makaraksha, he holds another weapon, like a spike kind of a weapon, and he throws it on Ram. And Ram chops off these spikes with his four arrows. And then when Makaraksha rushes towards Ram to fight with his bare hands, that is when basically he tries to pound down Ram with his fist. And that is when Ram hurls a mystic missile called as Pavakastra from his bow and kills him on the spot. And the demons, they get frightened and they run away to Lanka. Actually, that's why in the Balakand, you hear about all this knowledge given by Vishwamitra. Vishwamitra, he gives all this missile knowledge to Ramchandra. All these astras we have learnt in Balakanda itself, that he gets the knowledge of all these astras, Pavakastra, Agnyastra, Indrastra, all the astras he has used so far, he has learned from Vishwamitra back in Balakand. Okay, so now hearing that even Makaraksha was being killed, Ravan, who was always victorious in any war, he had never lost in a battle, but it appears that all his people, one by one, they are all losing. The night had ended, okay, with Makaraksha's death. Now it was day 3. Now, day 3, 4, 5 is mostly fight with Indrajit. Especially day 3 and 4 is full and full Indrajit's prowess. Because now hardly anyone is remaining, right? All the key warriors are gone on the Rakshasa's side. So Ravan, he had heard that Makaraksha had been killed, and he was very upset. Dantan katakatashcha, that is, he was doing katakata with his danta, with his teeth. He was biting his teeth, and he was very furious. And he knew that only his illustrious son Indrajit was remaining. So he goes, he speaks to Indrajit, and he tells Indrajit, now I'm completely dependent on you. I don't know what you will do, but somehow or the other, you have to protect my honor. You should go and fight with all these Vanaras and put down this Ram. All my people are gone. And Indrajit, what does he do before he goes to the battlefield? He goes out and he performs sacrificial oblations to the sacred fire so that he can become powerful and he can do magical warfare. So, after doing all the sacrifices, he proceeds to the battlefield and he starts shooting a flood of arrows towards Ram and Lakshman, being invisible in the sky. And Indrajit creates darkness in the sky, though it is daytime, he's creating darkness in the sky with showers of his steel arrows, and no one could see the Indrajit. No one could understand where the arrows are falling. And Ram and Lakshman, they were just thinking how to kill this Indrajit. They were thinking that somehow the source from where he's shooting the arrows, we have to find where it is and then we have to stop. So they were coming up with a strategy. And there were some discussions actually that should we also stick to dharma and follow the rules of warfare, because the Rakshasas are not following the correct rules of warfare. So Lakshmana was telling, what is this? This is not fair. He's just randomly throwing arrows, being invisible. Then why should we stick to the correct rules? But then Ramchandra says, no, no, no. You have to stick to the right rules and regulations. They are Rakshasas, they may not stick. But then those who stick to dharma will always be successful. So seeing that Ram and Lakshman are having some strategy discussion, and guessing the mind of Rama, Indrajit, he goes away from the battlefield because he wants to create a new magic now. Okay. So he feels that somehow they'll be able to spot the source of the arrows and put a check. So he thought, let me use a different strategy. So he goes back to the city, and this is actually day 5. Okay. So day 3 and 4, he was just doing Maya Yudha. That's how it is described. Day 3 and 4 go quickly. It's mostly Indrajit shooting arrows from all directions. Lakshman is very frustrated, and Lakshman is telling we have to find a different way, and they are trying to come up with a strategy. And Indrajit is also bored by now doing the same thing. So now day five. So day five, what happens is Ravan, he was recalling how Kumbhakarna and so many other great uh, Rakshasas were killed by the Vanaras. And he tells Indrajit that you have to somehow or the other finish off the Vanaras and Ram and Lakshman. So now Indrajit, he gets ready to go to the warfield on day five with red-hot eyes and anger. And he decides to create a new trick. By which he can psychologically affect the minds of Ram and Lakshman and once for all finish the war. Okay, that was there in Indrajit's mind. So, what does he do this time? He places an illusory image of Sita Devi on the chariot, and as if he's going to kill her, he places an image of Sita, illusory image, it's not real Sita, but because of his Maya Shakti, he creates that illusory image of Sita and he holds a sword in his hand. He puts her on the chariot and he starts going towards the direction where Ram and Lakshman were there waiting to fight with Indrajit. This was on day five. Now, the first person who sees this illusory image and Indrajit on the chariot is Hanuman. And Hanuman, seeing that Indrajit is approaching, he catches hold of a mountain peak. But then Hanuman was shocked. He was completely shocked to see Sita, and it appeared that Sita was very, very sad. She was being tortured. She had a single braid of hair. She was looking miserable, and she was dressed in a worn-out cloth, just like how Sita was looking when Hanuman had seen her under the Ashoka tree, some time back. When Simshupa tree, Hanuman goes, he sits and all that, right? That scene, remember, first she was under Ashoka tree, then she moves to a Simshupa tree. So that entire scene, when Hanuman was seeing her, how she was looking with that single braid of hair, with the soiled cloth, with the dejected face, the exact same image of Sita, he was able to see with Indrajit, and Indrajit was holding a sword. And Hanuman was extremely shocked. He was shocked. He was looking, what is happening? And by his magical capability, he was making that magical Sita shout Ram, Ram, Ram from the sky. Oh Ram, oh Ram, she was shouting. And Hanuman was afflicted. He started crying. He started breaking down because he couldn't see the pain that Sita was going through. And he starts calling out to Indrajit saying, you're so evil minded. You're born from a Brahmana lineage because his father, Ravan, was a Brahmin in the sense that he was the son of a Brahmin, Vishrava. You come from a lineage of Brahminical sages. At the same time, you belong to a demoniac race. But how dare, who gave you the right to touch the lock of the hairs of a woman? It is said that the greatest insult and is to pull the woman by her hair, and a man who pulls the woman by the hair will be doomed to hell. I mean, that's it. His death or whatever his end is nearing. That's how Shastras say. That's why when Draupadi was pulled, it meant that their end is near. It was considered the greatest insult. And even when Sita Devi was pulled by her hair, or even Vedavati was pulled by her hair, or even for that matter, Indrajit now. So he's very shocked. Hanuman says, how can you do that to a woman? And you come from such a great dynasty. Of course, one side is Rakshasas, but then the other side, you come from the lineage of great Brahminical sages. You're just going to ruin yourself by pulling the hair of a woman. You're cruel, you're vulgar, you're so wicked. You have such terrible conduct. You're acting like a barbarian. What is it that you're trying to do on the chariot? You have no pity. Look at the way she's crying. You're trying to take a woman away from her husband. What did Sita do to you? And by killing Sita, what are you going to achieve? You're holding a sword like as if you're going to kill her. What are you going to achieve by killing Sita? A person who kills a woman is condemned to hell. Nobody even looks up to such a person. So, Hanuman, as he was talking like this, uh, Indrajit, he tells Hanuman, you all are fighting for this lady's sake, the Sita, you, Sugriv, Ram, all of you came all the way to fight for this lady, but look at what I can do to her. And he says that just see, you said women are not to be killed, right? But just see what I can do to this woman who's right here. Indrajit, he takes on to the sword, and Sita's crying, that illusory Sita, and he chops her diagonally from top to bottom with that sharp edged sword right in front of Hanuman's eyes. And Hanuman, he didn't understand anything. He couldn't believe his eyes. His whole body was trembling. And he just started roaring loudly. He didn't know what to do. He couldn't understand anything. And he looked so dejected, and seeing him in such a condition, all the Vanaras, some of the Vanaras, they observed this terrible act and they were running in all directions. And Hanuman told the Vanaras, stop, don't run like this. Why are you just running away from the battlefield? No, 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 let's go attack him. He cannot do this. And you're all born in great families. You cannot run away from the battlefield. We should be attacking this Indrajit. And they all started to run towards Indrajit. And but however, Indrajit, he starts releasing number of arrows towards all the Vanaras. And Hanuman, he tries to pick up trees and rocks, and he tries to attack Indrajit and all the other Rakshasas who are trying to attack these Vanaras. And he's so terribly dejected. And he goes and he informs Ram and Sugriva about this matter. That he decides that I should go and inform Ram and Sugriva that for whose sake this entire effort is taken, that lady has been killed. So Hanuman, he feels, he first tries to attack Indrajit and all the demons, and he's trying to fight with them, and they also eventually evade Hanuman and they go away. But anyway, Indrajit, who was so well versed in the technique of performing such terrible acts, he was able to convince Hanuman itself that he has actually killed Sita Devi. So anyway, so Hanuman, he goes running to Ram and he tells Ram and Sugriva about the matter. That actually Indrajit came and he had a sword in his hand. He placed Sita Devi in a chariot and he cut her down diagonally. And after Hanuman ran away to inform this message to Ram, at that time Indrajit thinks that this is the right moment, because now everybody will be diverted. Everybody will be lamenting, thinking that Sita is dead. This is the right moment. I will go and perform another big sacrifice, which is called as the Nikumbila Yajna. Okay, he goes to a specific place called as Nikumbila to perform the sacrifice. He decides, I need some time and I should perform the sacrifice successfully. If I come out successful after performing that sacrifice, nobody can kill me and I can finish off this war once for all. So to go and to remain undisturbed, I should divert everybody. That was the reason he created this magical Sita, and it appeared like as if he killed that Sita, and then he fought with Hanuman and so many others. And when Hanuman, after fighting for a while, he decides he should go and tell Ram, that is when Indrajit vanishes, because he wants to go and do the Nikumbila Yajna. So these demons, they are very powerful. Though they didn't have faith in God, still they had some faith and some sacrifices towards demigods so that they could get their personal ambitions fulfilled. So that was their nature, and Indrajit was also like this. So meanwhile, Ramachandra, he heard this news. He saw how the Vanaras were coming, running towards him. They were rattling and coming, and he asked Jambavan, what is happening? Why is Hanuman looking like this? And Hanuman informs that for whose sake we have been fighting all these days, that Sita has been killed by Indrajit. And Ramachandra is completely shocked. Ramachandra is not able to believe what he had heard. And Ram loses his balance and he falls down on the ground. And all the Vanaras, seeing Ram's condition like that, was fallen off on the ground. They go bouncing towards Ram from all directions and they rush towards him. They start sprinkling some fragrant water, scented water, so that Ram's consciousness can be revived. So, like this, everybody is surrounding Ram. Then Lakshman, he holds on to Ram and he tries to wake him up with his voice completely choked. He shouts out to the skies. He says, has Dharma become invisible? Is Dharma existing anymore? You said we have to fight as per Dharma, but look at what Indrajit has done. He has killed our very Sita. What to do now? You are endowed with virtue. You are the embodiment of Dharma. But it appears that the one who's following Dharma is the one who's having more and more terrible, terrible calamities. So he says, I see so much misfortune to you. I doubt if Dharma really exists. But, however, he says, Lakshman, he's not given up on Dharma. So Arki says, but, however, it is not true that Dharma has vanished. Dharma will never change. The nature of Dharma is that it is always successful. Dharmo rakshati rakshita. So Dharma will always be successful. Ultimately, it will win. Satyameva jayate. It will win. That is the nature of Dharma. The nature of Dharma cannot change. You are an embodiment of Dharma. That and Dharma will not change, which means Sita is not dead. So, my dear brother, don't give up your Kshatriya spirit. Get up and fight. Rise up, Ram. I'm sure nothing has happened to Sita. I will go right away with my arrows and I will destroy this Lanka along with its chariots, elephants, horses. I'll destroy even Ravana. So, like this, when Lakshman was so fond of his brother, he was consoling his brother. Vibhishan hears this news and he also arrives at the place where Ram had swooned. And Vibhishan, he saw Lakshman, who was engrossed in sorrow, and all the Vanaras had gathered there, and their eyes were filled with tears. Ramchandra had lost it, and Vibhishan saw Ram. He was fallen into a swoon. He was sleeping on the lap of Lakshman, and seeing Ramachandra in this condition, he asks, "What happened? What happened to Ram?" And at that time, looking at the face of Vibhishan, Lakshman with tears, he tells that Hanuman saw this Indrajit bring Sita on a chariot and he slashed her and killed her with a sword. And hearing this news, Ram has entered a swoon. And Lakshman began to narrate all the details. And when he was narrating, Vibhishan said, wait, wait. I don't think that is true. I don't think it seems to be true. It is telling me like as if suddenly the ocean dried up. How can the ocean dry up? What you're telling is that Indrajit killed Sita? It cannot happen because I know very well the design of the evil minded Ravan. Ravan has so much passion towards Sita. He can never ever summon the killing of Sita. He cannot kill Sita. He will not allow anyone to kill Sita. He had been begged by me, he had been begged by his mother, by so many well wishers to give up Sita, and he did not heed to that advice. So, do you think that he would now chop off Sita, who is his most prized possession? Sita cannot be won with sweet words or gifts, and he will not give up Sita when he knows that he can still win the war. So he's still trying to fight the war so that he can win Sita. That is his intention. Do you think he will send Indrajit to kill Sita? It is simply not possible. That Ravana is obsessed with Sita. This Indrajit has just played a trick. I know how these demons think. And moreover, I know Indrajit's moves. Indrajit has purposely does this so that there will be attention diversion. All of you will be lamenting and thinking about what happened to Sita. And meanwhile, he will have an opportunity to go unchecked. He will go and perform a great yajna to come back even more powerful. I'm sure he has gone to the place called as Nikumbila. And once he goes to Nikumbila, he will come back successful. So he says it's not good for us to delay anymore. All the stunt that he's performing is just to have some distraction so that we don't give our attention to him. So Ramachandra, give permission to Lakshman. They wake up Ramachandra and they tell, give permission to Lakshman, that Lakshman, along with a few of us, should go and attack this Indrajit and stop him right there when he's performing the sacrifice. Because if he comes back successful and he crosses a particular banyan tree after the sacrifice, then nobody can kill Indrajit. Once he has gone to the area of Nikumbila and he passes a particular banyan tree alive, then nobody can kill him. So please give us orders along with Lakshman, Sugriva, Hanuman, Jambavan, Vibhishan, and myself, that is Vibhishan. We all will go to Nikumbila and we will stop Indrajit. So Lakshman was given permission. Lakshman, accompanied by Vibhishan, Angada, Hanuman, they penetrate through the entire army area, and finally they reach the area of Nikumbila. That is the place where Indrajit decided to perform his next sacrifice to become 100% invincible. But did they kill him before he crossed the banyan tree? That we will see in the next class. Okay. Sorry, I went 10 minutes late, so I could finish this section. Any questions, comments, thoughts, realizations? Yeah. Thank you, Rachna Mataji. Okay. So if there are no other comments or realizations, we can end the call here, and we will meet next week, and we'll see whether Indrajit was killed or he was successful, and then what else happened, because we still have further days in the battle to see, 6 and 7 days of the battle, sixth and seventh day, finally Ravan will be killed. But we still have 2 more days of the battle to discuss. And especially we are still on the 5th day where the Nikumbila sacrifice has to be performed. Okay, so we'll end here and we'll meet again next week. Vanchakalpatarubhyaścha kripa sindhubhyavach patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namah. Ananta Koti Vaishnavrinda ki jai, Shri Prabhupada ki jai, all glories to all.